Happy Saturday to you, everyone. Hope you're doing well this morning. Hey, I want to wrap up this little series on doggy daycare. And the reason why I spent so many days on it, it's really important to so many dog owners. I kid you not, I don't talk to 5 dog owners that someone doesn't ask me about either a dog park that their dog can go play at or doggy daycare. And what do I think about doggy daycare? Is it good? Is it bad? So I thought I'd just spend a couple extra days here talking about, because it really does seem to be very important. And it is a very important aspect of your dog's socialization, is overall well-being. So let's go ahead and knock all the rest of the way out today. So today I want to spend some time on the other 2 days. I spent times on the pros and the cons and what is doggy daycare. Today I want to focus more on what do I look for when I take my dog to a daycare. Yeah, when I take him away from my own daycare. And what do I look for at my own daycare? Hey man, it all starts here in your own camp. So you gotta make sure your own camp's good to go before you go checking out any other camps out there. So here's a few things I think that you should look for as well, and some questions that you should ask before you leave your dog in the care of someone else, especially for daycare. Because daycare, boarding is one thing. Boarding may be, hey, you're going to come in here, you're going to climb in this compartment or in that suite or that room, and you're going to spend the night. Daycare, the premises behind it is play. It is socialization, which means you're going to be in the company of other predators with fangs and claws. So that means something. It definitely does. So here's what I look for, and here's what you should look for, and here's what you should ask. Number one, I don't know. I tell you what, I'm not going to put these in any sort of priority. They're just all priorities to me. Cleanliness. It's got to be clean. Again, dogs are going to be around dogs, and dogs are going to go potty. They're not going to go to a restroom somewhere. They're just going to let it go. They're going to let it go right there on that concrete, on that AstroTurf, on that rubber flooring. They're going to let it go. But that doesn't mean we let it sit there. And we have to have disinfectants that don't harm the dog, but allow proper cleaning and sanitation. You've got to have that. Man, look at you. Go to a nice restaurant. You really enjoy eating at a restaurant. Then suddenly you have to go to the bathroom. And you walk in that bathroom, and it's filthy. Filthy. Okay, so what's running through your mind? You're thinking, okay, you don't even take the time to clean the bathroom. What's the handling of the food that I just ate? What's the kitchen like? Yeah, so you get it. So cleanliness, guys. Don't expect it to smell super, super nice. I mean, dogs are dogs. Their breath, they do go potty, they do eliminate, and after you clean it up, it can smell bad for about 10 or 15 minutes till it finally airs out. Dogs get wet, and oh my gosh, everyone knows what a wet dog smells like. You get it. So don't be over picky when it comes to that. You know what I'm talking about. You want it organized, you want it clean. My mentor used to say when I was a young man, if you dress sloppy, you think sloppy. If you're disorganized, if you don't even make your bed, that's the way you think. And if that's the way you think, then you're not going to be taking care of my dog. I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay, so cleanliness. Make sure they got fresh water. Water's cheap. Water's cheap. So they should have plenty of fresh water. Make sure always fresh, not sitting there. If they have water buckets, make sure that they are outside, that they get moved into the shade area. A lot of these stainless steel buckets will heat up in no time. And I do mean they get really hot. So lots of fresh water so the dogs have an opportunity to stay hydrated. Make sure there's shelter from the weather. So they shouldn't just be an outdoor place and just an indoor place. But if worst of the two devils, I'd probably go with an indoor place. Only because you need to shelter your dog from the weather, especially from the heat. Dogs can do much better in the cold. I've talked about that in previous videos. Nature prepared her wolves to deal with cold because you can't get away from it. It will find you everywhere you go. High altitude, low altitude. You can burrow into the ground. It's frozen ground. Good luck trying to do that. Old man winter will hunt you down and will find you. But heat, you can kind of get away from the heat just to a certain degree. You can go to that higher altitude. You can burrow into the ground. You can wade into a creek. You can go someplace where you can catch a nice breeze. And with daycare, you want to find a place that has lots of shade and air conditioning if needed. So make sure they have that. Make sure they have big play areas, not just little play areas. And if they only have little play areas, because that's the only space they have, then make sure that the numbers are not too great in those play areas. Again, I like to use a lot of human examples. Go climb in an elevator with 20 people in it. Awkward. No one really says anything, or if they do, it's kind of clumsy. Just trying to make small talk because silence is awkward. But you're also kind of feeling crowded and pushed in there. I don't do well with crowds. I just don't. And so I guess I kind of feel sorry for animals. They're having to be stuck in these small areas with a bunch of other animals. Give them some elbow room. Distance is safety. Distance allows me to approach you if I feel like it, but yet move away from you when I feel like doing that as well. Got to have space, baby. Space is where it's at. That's one of the most critical things that I look for, whether it's in a dog park, whether it's in a daycare. I look for space, and if you got small space, then I want small numbers, and you should too. Crowded means fights. Fights will happen. Okay, so make sure you got those size spaces. Also, make sure that they know what they're talking about when it comes to gender ratios. I've talked many times about the principle of resemblance and how most fights and most competition is most fierce in its own gender group. Males against males, females against females. And again, I don't care if they've been spayed or neutered. They still know what they are. All right, keep that in mind. So you don't want to have a bunch of males playing with a bunch of males. You don't want to have a bunch of females playing with a bunch of females. Have them create nature's evolutionary stable strategy. Give me a good mix. And the same thing goes for temperament. Don't be giving me a bunch of bullies out there and a bunch of pushy dogs and a bunch of dogs trying to dominate the entire scene. Give me something to say, yeah, you can have it, baby. You want that play piece equipment over there? Knock yourself out. I'll hop on there when you hop out. Yeah, make sure that's happening as well. Make sure that they're controlling energy levels. Again, you heard me yesterday. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Dogs can burn themselves out, and then when they start to burn themselves out, their arousal column comes up. They become far less tolerant, and then it just goes downhill from there. So do control the energy within the group. They become emboldened off of one another. A dog that wouldn't pick a fight with another dog suddenly will, because it feels like I got 3 or 4 other people that are going to chip in here and help me with this thing. So watch out for that. You got to keep that energy level a little bit down. I know everyone wants to have a good time, and a lot of owners are expecting their dogs to have a good time, but I'm telling you what, you got to keep it safe. It must remain safe. Make sure they have rest areas. Yeah, you saw yesterday's video, pulling Chief out and parking him inside of a little pen there for a little bit. Give the guy a break. If he could talk, he would have said to my staff, hey, either one of 2 things has to occur here. If you'd help me, please. Either put me up or put them up. So we put him up. 1 up, 3 out. But again, that can get flipped around. So make sure that happens as well. Wake up. Never mind. I am in the little behind the curtains area called Oz. Yeah, this is where the great and powerful Oz works. This is where I'm in Kira's office. Look at all those monitors back there behind me. She pulled up all these daycare scenes, and I said, well, make sure they don't die in the middle of my video. Oh, well, so you can just look at me. There we go. I'll make up for it. There we go. All right, way too much fun here on Saturday. I promise. There's been nothing in my spark this morning, I promise. All right, let's get through this darn thing. Make sure they have rest areas. Make sure that the entrances into these daycare areas have double gates. You'll see this a lot at dog parks, and it's mostly to prevent escape. But I am here to tell you something with absolute certainty. If there is going to be a fight in daycare or at a dog park, it's the gates. It is. It's like the entrance to the underworld. It is terrible. Watch out. Double gates are really needed. And one of the practices that they should do is put a dog in the double gate area, leave it there until all the rest of the dogs go, I guess this dog's not coming in here. Man, I'm kind of bored with you and the novelty's worn off, so let's go play over there. And then when they do, that's a great time to release that dog into that play area. And you should take that advice as well when you take your dog to a dog park. Don't go rushing it through there. Get into double gates, hang out for a little bit, and trust me, you'll become old news to the vast majority of the dogs. And then when you do, that's a great time for you to go ahead and release that dog into the play area. So make sure they do have double gates. And of course, make sure they require vaccinations. Yeah, that's a safe thing. We all kind of get that. You also want to make sure that they have a protocol for injuries. If you take your dog to daycare and you think for 1 second that an injury can't occur, you need to think again. If you take your dog to a daycare and you think it can't become ill, it can't lap up a little Girardia water that got passed because some dog was at a dog park out in the woods somewhere and swam into the lake and got Girardia and now used the bathroom in the play area. Some other dog comes over and gets a good whiff of that or a good lick of that before it gets cleaned up. Yes, there are so many illnesses that affect dogs when they're in a group environment. And there's good and bad with that. I told you already, builds the autoimmune system, but they can become sick before those antibodies kick in. So if you're going to a doggy daycare with your dog and you're going to drop it off there, please, 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 lower your stress response here, people. Lower it. Do your homework first. Ask all these questions I've been telling you to ask. And then trust. Trust. Accidents do happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I've been doing doggy daycares now for over 30 years, and I'm telling you what, I don't know how many dogs have been bitten. They're going to be bitten. It will happen. And anyone who tells you it's never happened at that daycare, they haven't been open for an hour. Anyone tells you it's never happened, walk away. They're lying to you. These are animals with fangs and claws. They will attack. And for aggression to be effective, it must be swift. So it will happen. So that being said, make sure there is a protocol in place. Make sure that if you only want your dog to only go to your veterinarian, make sure that is stated. Make sure that is even a possibility that they will comply with what you want. They'll accommodate you. Make sure there's a protocol that says, how can you get my dog to a vet should it need to go to the vet? Can you even tell if my dog needs to be treated at a veterinarian's office or not? Sometimes when you drop off for daycare, you're in that busy meeting. You're in that Zoom call, you're in something and you can't be interrupted. And that means that they have to act without notifying you. Make sure that's in place. Make sure they have good transportation to take the dog to the vet. No, not an employee's car. No, reliable transportation that was designed to transport dogs safely. Make sure that's in place. Make sure they know about 24-hour vets, mobile vets. Make sure this is there. Make them prove it to you or don't leave your dog. And I always kind of leave mine with this. Hey, when in doubt at all, you can't reach me, to the vet. Okay, so what? I'll pay the vet visit. I'll pay the fee. I don't care. Just go. Get it done. Puts me at ease. All right, so make sure they have that. Make sure that they have a protocol for breaking up dog fights. Again, that's kind of putting the horse before the cart there, or the cart before the horse. It's make sure they have that. Make sure they do have that in place. How are you going to break that up? You may have noticed in one of the videos I showed of our daycare, for example, our staff members are required to walk around with a kennel lead to have that so they can loop it over a dog and take the dog out of the area. But they also walk around with shepherd's crooks. And it's not to beat the dog over the head with it. It's there to extend yourself. There's nothing wrong with two dogs going, hey, excuse me, would you knock that off, please? Yeah, I mean it. Knock it off. Yeah, so you're not sitting there poking dogs hard and you're not clubbing them. And the shepherd's crook, I have found over the years, is wonderful for reaching over here and grabbing a limb, reaching over there and grabbing a collar, reaching over and grabbing some part of that body when you need to. But it's there more for prevention. I cannot tell you how many tiny, tiny little girls that have worked for me were some of the most incapable play supervisors in the world. I remember being inside one time and doing a training lesson with a client. I hear, doo, doo. I'm like, what the heck was that? Doo, doo. What was that? I look outside. This girl's sitting right there on this little stool. The dogs all started doing all this stuff. She goes, doo, doo. That's it. How going? We're good. We're good. It's all good. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, because you want that. You want them to stay out there. Otherwise, every second you turn around, you got to go put them up. You got to go put them up. You want them to solve issues. You want them to work it through. And so that brings me to my last point here, and then I'm going to get out of here, and you guys will get out of here too. Cameras. Okay, more and more daycares are starting to do away with their little doggy cams. I'm kind of seeing why. I had those at first for about 10 years, and probably the longest 10 years of my life. If they have a dog cam, please do your dog, please do yourself a huge favor. Don't camp out on it. Because if you want to see something hard enough, you'll finally see it. Yeah, unless you're an expert in animal behavior, what that paw and that back meant, nose to nose means, perpendicular mounting, chasing, nipping, grabbing. Unless you know what that means, you know the context in which you're viewing it at that moment, relax. You did all your homework. You've done all the stuff I said up to this point. Relax. Either trust the daycare or don't. But don't sit there camped out on those cameras all day long watching everything that your dog is doing. No, but I've seen it. Oh, my dog was in the corner for most of the day. Yeah, it sure was. You bet. It's in a novel environment. It's seeking out the rules of prediction and control. It's trying to figure out, okay, so can I juke this way or can I juke that way? What's the first exit out of here if I need to use that exit? And you over there, you look like you're someone I feel like approaching, but you don't. Some dogs want to cling to the supervisor, the attendant out there. And then a lot of people say, oh, she doesn't like the play. You didn't enjoy the play. You got to give them time. You got to let them adjust the chemistry. Nothing's perfect. You let it work through it. The pros, again, outweigh the cons by far. By far. And you just got to trust in that system. Trust in it. Have things in place in case it all goes south. But it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Gosh, I owned a vet hospital again. I told you that for decades. And I tell you what, I know of no super tragedy from any daycare. None. I mean, it can happen and it will happen. But I don't know of anything in which, yeah, I'm sure it's out there. I just don't spend the time trying to do that kind of research. I kind of take care of my own camp. And anytime anyone talks to me, I talk about their camp as well. But guys, cameras are fine. They're fun. It's neat. Everyone likes to get on and go, oh, check out my dog. Check out my dog. I do the same thing. I have cameras on my place. And we go out of town. The captain's there. I look for his white tail. I see if he's running around. Cattle dog. Come on over here, buddy. Come on over here, buddy. Yeah. I look for the cattle dog because I love the cattle dog. And Kira looks for the Morkies because she loves the Morkies. And I love the Morkies too. They're fine. But I love the cattle dog. And we do that. But then that's it. Then we get back to what we were doing. So enjoy the cameras, but trust the staff. Don't be making a phone call every 10 minutes. Ask for honesty and transparency when you pick up your dog. If your dog didn't do well, you need to hear, my dog didn't do well. You need to hear why they believe the dog didn't do well, so that you can make an educated choice as to whether you want to bring your dog back or not. So you can ask for maybe a different chemistry, maybe a different play group, a play setting. There's so many things to do. But don't abuse the cameras, guys. Again, hop on there, check your dog out. But man, it's kind of like these child daycares. I've had to let an employer or two go back in the past because I couldn't get any work from them because every time I turned around, they were on cameras spying on their little children at the daycare. Reasonable people, keep it moderate. And again, it's all about trust. Okay, I think I've covered darn near everything I can think of. Again, if I think of anything off the top of my head, I'll shoot it back out to you. I did think of something. So 1 second here. Age. Also, when I said segregate them by gender, temperament, size, also age. If they have puppy areas, let puppies be with puppies. Don't let young puppies, and I'm talking about 12-week-old puppies, 10-week-old puppies. Do not let those be with adults. No way. Things that happen during that time period in life, anything traumatic, will last forever. That puppy will never get over it. So if they have puppy play areas, then let puppies play in play areas. No 10-year-old Chihuahuas with 10-week-old Labrador puppies. No, that cannot happen. Okay, guys, I think I've covered it all. Okay, yeah, I hope I have anyway. So if you have any questions about daycare, shoot them to me. I'll be glad to answer those questions. Hope you got a lot of tips here over the last 3 days covering daycare, because we're moving on to other things tomorrow. If you found this information beneficial, as always, I always ask that you do share it. Share it. That's how the darn thing gets out there and the word gets out there. And again, this is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing every single day and parking myself in front of you, is because I'm trying to make dog ownership as easy, but as realistic and honest and transparent as possible. So you know. And again, predictive information gives you the ability to control. And that's what it's all about. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hell, dog, you're being lazy on me today. Maybe I need to take him to daycare. Can you go get daycare? Come on, boy, give me a big old hug. All right, guys, out of here. Bye.